It's with pleasure. I'd like to bring on Jesse Draper and Brent Traidman as my next panelists. Brent, good morning. Jesse is good. Jesse, good morning. You're on mute.
Hi, Karim.
Hey, Brent. Good, thanks. So it's going to be fun. Thank you both for arriving today. We've had starting this morning at 8 o'clock. We've had various topics and got so much information and so much questions. But let's pass on to you, Jesse. Fourth generation VC, building great companies, most connected woman in the US, I think, as quoted by several magazines, writing awesome articles in regards to funding women's F charity, right? That went viral in just a couple of days. Amazing article. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. I do want to get into some of the things. Brent, obviously, you've been around the block several times with identifying companies, funding companies, and now building a company with Adam, with BRD, over 6 million users now in a digital wallet. Jesse Draper, with her background and heritage, totally involved with the crypto or the coin environment. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation today. But let's talk about a little bit before we get into that. I wanted you to cover a little bit. So we were actually on conversations this morning at 9 o'clock with the rise of the European VC investing environment, right? We look at the pandemic, we look at what's happening in 2020, we look at what we're doing today, which is sitting around in our homes or in our offices, but by ourselves, connecting with people from all across the world. We had over 750 registrants today for today and tomorrow. We've had 60, by the time this ends, we'll have over 60 panelists. We're all interacting, meeting, engaging, learning. As investors, we're investing. As engineers, we're building. And what we start to see, as quoted by Jonathan and Alexandra this morning, and they were talking about how they're seeing different companies being built in the US, in Europe, in India, South America. They also talked about what their focus is, and they noticed more B2B or SaaS development in Europe and a lot of engineering, building companies for bigger, larger good. They've also talked about, surprisingly enough, without any prompt from anybody, it was about how they're seeing the diversity in not only culture, but in male-female ratios within their companies because of what's happened in 2020. They're starting to see a lot more talent from various parts of the world join their teams, and that's having actually an outcome, and I'm not telling you whether it was negative or positive, an outcome on their investment strategy, the companies that they're investing in, and what kind of companies are being built. So I'd like to start with you, Jesse, taking that a little bit in perspective of what you've seen, what you're doing, and how you are paying attention to this environment.
I'm Jesse Draper. I run Halogen Ventures. So we invest in early stage female founded consumer tech. I also am a personal investor in BitCoin. I don't speak about it a lot, so I'm excited to be here today. I'm an investor in some blockchain funds, and I am an investor in Block Cipher, which is it's like Amazon Web Services for the blockchain. And I am a huge fan and proponent of women in particular buying Bitcoin because I think that they're really missing out. We have, I think it's 1 to 17 is the numbers in terms of women to men. And I think, it's important that we're in the game. But in terms of just the ecosystem right now, we're in consumer, so it looks a little different. We're seeing a pickup at a lot of our businesses right now. Did you want to talk specifically about Bitcoin? I'm going to have to divide mine too.
No, we definitely have to get into that. But I also wanted to get into, definitely want to focus on that. But I want to get into a little bit of the article that you wrote about, paying attention to to geographical and geographical diversity as well as male and female diversity within companies?
Yeah. So something we've found, and just to give you a little of my background, I'm a former entrepreneur. I ran a media tech news site. We acquired some tech sites back in 2008. The heart of this business being this show, which was called the Valley Girl Show, and it was one of the first technology talk shows. And 2008, early days of digital distribution, and I was trying to celebrate these incredible entrepreneurs and get them out there. And after we did 5 seasons of the show, and after 2 seasons, I quickly realized I'd only interviewed incredible men in technology. And this was a problem. It was also the reason that you mentioned I'm a 4th generation venture capitalist, and I'm the first female. And so I didn't, even though it's all I knew, I didn't think I could go into that business. I'd grown up around startups, interned there my whole life. I just didn't think I could. So I went into entertainment because I thought that's what women did.
Yeah.
My aunt was an actress, and she was a very successful actress. And my mom worked incredibly hard raising 4 children. And so that was the woman I always gravitated towards. And so I realized this was a significant problem. And after 2 seasons of interviewing these men, I said, okay, I need to make an initiative to interview 50% women in tech. And they came, and I realized that I could also support this problem by investing in them. While I didn't have a ton of capital then, I was in my 20s, I was just like emptying my bank account into some of these early stage businesses, $5,000, whatever I had at the time. Some of those deals did really well for me. One I sold for a 25x return in less than 18 months. And then I had a track record, raised my first fund, pitched 500 potential investors, as one does. And now we're on our second fund. We have 62 companies, all run by women. What I've learned, because that was the moment I realized when I created this initiative to interview 50% women in tech, I realized what an opportunity this was. In addition to changing the ecosystem, I created what I call like the female, it's like the Batwoman signal. And it was this magnet for deal flow. We saw nearly 5,000 deals last year. And because we went off of the traditional Sandhill Road, Silicon Valley path, that is not bad. It's literally the path I grew up on. But because I said, hey, we're looking for women starting great consumer tech companies in the early stages. We have over 50% minority-led companies. We think about age, race, and gender at the earliest stages as of utmost importance. There's great data around this. And this is, I think I see a lot of sort of talk online about, well, I don't know how to find women. Well, I don't know how to make sure that my portfolio is more diverse. And I am telling you, by investing in women, you see more, you see better, and you start thinking about diversity as the biggest opportunity. So we really think of diversity of age, race, and gender at the earliest stages.
That's good, and I hope you're able to meet with at some point through the network, Jonathan and Alexandra, who are investing in Europe, and that'll be a good opportunity for you to gauge what's happening there as well. Brent, tell us a little bit. You're a global company. You've grown very, very quickly. I'd like to start off with how you are looking at your company, how you're building your company in terms of diversity, gender, as well as geographically, and then switch into your success in trading, particularly Bitcoin. I think this is what you do. And then we can go into that topic, because a lot of our audience here today and a lot of the topics do cover crypto, the economy, what's going on. And again, Jesse, what we found is we have a lunch and learn, a link to lunch and learn every week, and we have these events every quarter. And we're getting a lot of women who want to learn more. And so this is a good opportunity to speak to them as well. Brent.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Karim. Appreciate it. Jesse, good to meet you. So yeah, I'll just give you a quick bio on who I am. So my background working in Silicon Valley, lived in San Francisco, worked for a VC there, did fundraising, and was on the more on the other side of the table, as opposed to a startup where, you know, I would go to Y Combinator and Techstars and all these places to find entrepreneurs. And, you know, Jesse's right. It's just, you know, a lot of times, this is 5-10 years ago, the majority of those, the deal flow was male dominated, not so much today. So about 3 years ago, my brother, who's in the Bay Area as well, said, hey, I'm working on this Bitcoin company. And I said, oh, that sounds great. It's 2 guys in literally a garage. And he had had all these successful startups and everything. I said, okay, well, if that's what you're doing next, great. All I know about Bitcoin is, you know, it's used for drug smuggling and nefarious things. And, you know, you go have fun with that. So I did my thing, and I was working for a private equity-backed company called Vista Equity Partners at the time. And my wife got the opportunity, moved the family back to Chicago. We did that. And then he called me up and said, hey, you know, Bitcoin's kind of taken off. This is 2017. You know, we just raised Series A money and we need to hire some executives. So I said, hey, I've never worked with my brother. First time ever. He's, you know, in his 40s, worked in the Bay Area for 20 plus years at startups. I said, this would be a great opportunity to do this. Plus, really coming in at an early stage of a new financial ecosystem that we're building. And I said, you know, this is the time. So I came over in 2017. And like I said, most of my experience was on the other side of the table, talking to entrepreneurs. So I felt like, you know, at this point I knew what to do. And I had the playbook, investing in so many companies from a VC perspective. So I did that in 2017. No looking back at this point. I'm going to be in this field for a while. I feel like it's very early. And I think whoever mentioned it before about education, absolutely. It's the thing that we do every day in this market. And we have been doing it for years. The topic today, talking about women, just a little bit about our company. So our company's BRD. We've been around since 2015. We were the first iOS wallet in the App Store and have over 6 million users globally today. Majority of those being in North America, Europe, what I would call like the G20. But I'd say in the past year or two, we've had a tremendous amount of increase in Latin America, India, places that like Indonesia and areas that they don't have you know, stable local currencies, and they're looking for alternatives. The one thing about when you have a global mobile app in the Apple Store and in the Google Store is that they give you great stats, and we have a great dashboard. However, they don't give you things like, they say where the downloads are coming from, but they don't tell you obviously the, you know, the privacy of the user. So we've done a lot of surveys internally of our users and said, who are these 6 million people? We have a decentralized app, so we actually never hold their keys. We don't hold their crypto. They hold it privately. So, you know, somebody could email us, Karim could email us and say, hey, I'm over in blah, blah, blah country, and I'm using your app. I can't look him up in the system. I can't see how much money he has or she or whatever it is. So that we have a ton of a lack of visibility as compared to any other kind of centralized company. So we're more of a browser, right? So we don't, you know, as a browser, we allow you to, you know, go around in the internet. But for us, it's you manage your own money. So we have people reaching out, men, women, every diversity background you can imagine are reaching out to our tech support, which is 24/7. So we get a lot of information from these people. We have an amazing analytics dashboard that we keep track of where the downloads are coming from, transaction information, but we have full privacy. We don't have visibility into the user. So what we've realized is that, you know, of the surveys that we've taken is that, you know, the majority of them are male. And for us, it's, as Jesse mentioned, after you really look at the diversity opportunity, to us, we're only average, you know, we have 50% of the world's population is male. The other 50%, which is female, is untapped in our mind. So that's where, you know, companies like ours, it's really how I look at it in kind of the premise of this conversation is how do we get women to invest in crypto is, first of all, be where women are and hire exceptional women at our company. So we've actually won a couple awards at BRD. We've got about 50 people globally right now in 7 countries. We won a Comparably award for having one of the most diverse teams in the space. And if you go to some of our websites and blogs and mentions, we have a bunch of women that work at our company that are mostly engineers. A lot of engineers that are women. So we've hired exceptional women in every position, because, the way we look at it is if we're all male as a company, we're only, talking about male and marketing to men. So we first said, all right, to educate women, first we have to be women. So half of our company, we have a goal to have a diverse workforce in terms of male, female for that reason. And so we can market to women and capture the other 50% of the world that could be buying and selling and trading crypto.
That's pretty amazing. So congratulations to you both in achieving that, because it just brings talent and execution, and it takes care of the other side of the population. Jesse, before you go into this, so earlier on in one of the sessions that we heard, so there are two aspects of the crypto market, right? There's one aspect which is the investment opportunity, which I think is what we're referring to as you see a lot of men coming in buying either the Bitcoin on the XRP and the other lesser known coins, and then trading that to make some money or maybe lose money. But we also heard the usage of crypto or Bitcoin in developing countries where there's underbanked or unbanked folks, and the utility of the currency. And if we look at traditionally, we look at those environments, whether it's Africa or Asia or South America, women are probably more in control of the purse strings than the men are to make purchases and transactions. So if you could speak to both of those aspects as an investment opportunity and as well as a usage opportunity, that'd be interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I can talk from personal experience here, just based on my own fundraisers in the United States. It's interesting because I'm a female raising a fund to invest in women. Now, we have 62 companies. We have 3 male CEOs. I do love men, and men will eventually, we will have a lot of men working at all of these companies. I get very silly questions sometimes about this. But when I first went out for my fundraise for my first fund, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to go target all of these female philanthropists and billion-dollar women. And, it's hard to meet with billionaires, it turns out, but I found a lot of them. And, I sat down with them, and women, I quickly learned, especially the older generations of women, are terrified of investing, terrified. They would have 6 or 7 meetings with me and then brag to me about how they wrote a $3 million check to charity. And I'd say, well, what's not getting you across the fence here? And it's like for-profit investing is what they're terrified of. And it's the most frustrating thing to me, running a for-profit fund investing in women. And I would say, look, you're going to do more good by investing in here and make money so you can do even more good. And that's been something I struggle with. We have 60% male investors. I actually have to go out of my way to find female investors for our fund, which is very frustrating. And I share this story because I think in terms of the blockchain and Bitcoin, the reason a lot of these numbers are similar in terms of investment dollars, et cetera, and women just not taking the risk is because they're terrified. It's over the years, men have passed down the pocketbooks, and this is from, country to country everywhere. Men pass down the pocketbooks. Women are taught not to talk about money. Men are taught not to talk about money with women. And this is just where the problem begins. So I'm constantly bringing up money and investing around my friends. And I usually, it sometimes sucks the air out of the room because they're so uncomfortable because they are afraid they don't have all the answers and they don't understand it. And so I think when it comes to blockchain and investing in Bitcoin specifically, they're like, well, I don't know how to buy it. And it is it's complicated to buy. It's kind of complicated to buy, but I don't know how to buy it, and I don't know what I do with it, and I don't know. And it's like, okay, well, try. And so I really just encourage women to take risk with their capital. How are you going to learn if you're, not taking this risk? And it's really fascinating to just watch women the best part about female investors is that we de-risk everything in a different way. We need a little bit more of the male brain that's sort of like, let's just go for it and see what happens. And I think that's very important. Like I wish women had a little more of that, but I think men could use a little more of the female kind of like de-risking strategy. We take in so many data points and, ultimately de-risk everything significantly more. But I would really encourage women to invest more. But I just think it all begins with just not talking about it enough, not forcing yourself to take the risk and just like throw a little money, into Bitcoin, throw a little money into even like public stocks, like invest in things you understand and some you don't, and learn as much as you possibly can. And, big risk equals big reward. At least that's how I think about it. And if you look at it as an investment and women constantly de-risking their investments, it's less of a risk because you're calculating it.
It's funny, when Jesse says big risk, big reward, almost sounds like BRD, Brent.
Oh, yeah.
Big risk, big reward, right? I mean, you could almost say that. Have you made it easier for women, or have you made it easier for folks to invest in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I would say, well, this 2020 has been a tremendous year for Bitcoin in many reasons, not just the price of Bitcoin, but as you follow the news and you see what the numbers that Square put up, which is the #1 finance app in the US, Cash App, it's amazing. And it's just exposure to the #1 finance app where people are just sending money back and forth peer to peer, right? PayPal's recent news, they have 300 million users. You open up the PayPal app, you're a male, you're a female, doesn't matter. You open it up. Oh, what's this? The top thing that says when you open the app is crypto. And it is just amazing to see. So I think just the education will happen. It being where women are, open up a phone where men and women are. There's a PayPal app, there's a Visa app, there's a Square app, whatever it is, your bank app. All these banks that are entering the space and making announcements like Visa, I think yesterday with 30 million merchants that they have, that, this is for checkout, just e-commerce checkout. Men and women shop online. Everybody's shopping online right now. Just being where people are, we'll gain them familiarity with it. It's not going to be scary when it's everywhere, right? So that's part of it. We continuously educate people in this space. It has taken years, and it's going to take many, many more years because, money, you learn about it at an early age. It's constant in your life. You use it every day. You were educated on it by your parents or your grandparents or whoever. It just takes time to learn about it. And I think more, quicker than our generations and people that are of our age and older, is that, it took them longer, but, things are moving pretty rapidly right now. And especially with phones and YouTube and all these influencers, and people are talking about it more than ever right now, which is good for the space. It's just education. What is money? People don't really think about it. And what is paper money? And whoever had the last session that talked about 2020, more US dollars were printed than any other year. Not many people think about that, men or women. They're just not thinking about it, right? So education is a critical component to this space.
As you look back in the theme of this conference today, you look back and you think through the observations you had in 2020, the learnings that you probably had in 2020, and what you think or inspirations that you can give for 2021. What would those be, Jesse?
Oh my gosh, I would say for my companies, well, personally, it's just like preparedness is everything. I think, week 1 or 2 of COVID, we just got all of our companies on a Zoom and said, hey, here's our suggestions, and, make sure you have 12 to 24 months of runway, and, focus on this, apply for the PPP loan. I think just being as thoughtful as you can about your cash as an entrepreneur is something we've learned. And luckily, because we invest in women, there's a lot of data saying they're more profitable and they do less of the like raise and raise and raise and raise without the numbers matching up. And so we've watched them make so much of so little cash. It's been an incredible thing to see. So in terms of lessons learned, I'm just proud of the founders that we bet on in our portfolio.
And when you look at, this is going to be it's just a short question, but I'm sure there's a larger response to it. And when you look forward into 2021, I know the first 2 quarters are still going to be challenging given what's going on. But what sort of inspirational advice can you give folks, not only in your portfolio, but people around you? What should we be doing? How should we manage 2021? What?
I think in terms of businesses, I mean, if I'm just gonna like say everything you're not supposed to say, it's like we need to open up. I think there's something wrong with the government saying you need to stay shut down, and it's not connecting with the financial implications. And people aren't realizing that we're about to drive ourselves into the biggest recession. Talk about money, like we are already in the biggest recession, and we're about to go much deeper. I'm in Los Angeles, we're locking it down again. My friends run restaurants that are all outdoors and they can't operate. Businesses need to continue to operate so that we're continuing to produce this money that Brent was talking about. I think that's something we need to just encourage everyone to open up. I think we should all be safe, wear masks, be as clean as we can, wash our hands, but we need to keep this whole ecosystem moving. Yeah. But in terms of entrepreneurs out there, the coolest thing to think about is all the biggest tech companies today, the Slack, Ubers, they came out of the 2008 recession, and today is the moment that all the entrepreneurs are adjusting their current businesses or starting the new ones to solve these problems in this new world. So I think we need to be realistic that this is how we live, this is where we're living, and what do those problems look like, and how do you become the billion-dollar business in 10 years from now? And I'm really excited for all the entrepreneurs to get us out of this mess. So get to work.
Okay. Amazing, because what we're doing, March 9th, write this down, March 9th, we're having our next Global Investor Conference. And the topic of that conference will be Acorns to Unicorns 2.0. Okay. And we want you there talking about the companies that you're growing. Brent, first of all, I'm going to go back. I'm going to say first, you need to be there because your company is going to be exploding in the next quarter, and we want your product on our shelf, on the LinkedIn shelf. And we'd like to keep a track of what you're doing with your company. But go back before we close up on this one. Tell me how you've seen 2020, what your thoughts are, what you've learned, and what do we need to look out for in 2021?
Yeah, with the I mean, from the the whole political thing is that's going to make some changes. I think what we've learned in 2020 is that nothing that we thought there was cause and effect, and you knew what was going to happen, and that's thrown out the window. So anything could happen. So you have to be prepared. And like any, if you're investing, you want to diversify. If you have big purchases coming up, you have to be prepared for those types of things. So Bitcoin's a high risk investment. It's a long-term investment. And a lot of people don't think about their goals from an investment point of view. What are your goals? Do you want to make money a quick buck, or do you want to make money in the long term? So how I look at it as an opportunity in right now in 2021 is there are some moves that you can make, long-term strategic decisions for you and your family that are, whether it's, you want to hold money in the next 20 years or 30 years, this is a time when you can make those adjustments based on things might happen in the first quarter or two based on politics in the US and changes. And this could be a time, one time of your life that you can make some good investment choices with coming out of this. So that's how I look at it optimistically. And I think from a global perspective, just changing the financial markets and something people use every day. And one of the last things to be really changed in a way with startups is happening right now. So it's exciting for us.
Yeah, that is amazing. Jesse, Brent, thank you so much for your time today. I don't think we got enough from Jesse in terms of the educational aspect of Bitcoin, but it's our fault, it's the timing. But hopefully we'll get you more engaged at the next event. We do have a link to Lunch and Learn every week. And so there might be a panel that you'd be open to spending some time with us, as well as you, Brent, about the education aspect of what does crypto look like? How do I do this? And what do I need to look out for? And what does the future hold? And like Brent said, is this an investment that you want to make today for a quick change? But the utility of it as well. There's a lot of things that we need to talk about.
Oh, was
Yeah,
that
you're on mute. No, we didn't hear you, but no, we'd like to. Well, you've got you want to a shout out for the 2021, and then we can end this.
Yeah, let's hope 2021 doesn't look like 2020. And I just want to comment on, you can tell someone who works with crypto is having a good day like Brent when you see the numbers of Bitcoin today. So while it's a high risk investment, it is a long-term play, and I think it's definitely a worthwhile one.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Brent?
Thanks, Karim. Yeah, pleasure to be here today. Thanks for everything. I wanted to, take everything you've kind of heard today, but, I think we talked about making education as a primary focus, being inclusive for diversity, and, those are gonna play out long-term. Those are good blueprints for building a great company and making good investments in the future.
Thank you.